welcome to Across the Park podcast, back on location. Pricey again, Judgy in the hot walk. Cheers, boys. Nice to be
My debut in the hot walk, this.
It is. Judgy, before we get into the sponsors and the football, me and Pricey said last week, a lot of memories in this place, the old Blue House. Nice to be here, isn't it?
Oh, class, some messy memories as well, on the tables and stuff. And after the game was, it was. I mean, to be fair, it looks a lot better than the Blue House did. The Blue House was tight at the end, But that pool table wasn't used very often for pool, was it?
No, people were sitting on it and sleeping on it in Pricey's cases. Said you had to
I used to sleep on the benches at the back when I was little. My dad used to bring me and just lie me down and put me to sleep while he talked about Tony Cotty.
We used to go to Royal Oak, so I didn't really have that many times with my dad. So,
he wouldn't go there, would he? He wouldn't go there.
No.
As I said there, good night, because there's a big one coming up on Saturday the 3rd of December, a night with Alan Stubbs. The tickets behind the bar, behind us in the hot walk. Just go in the chippy at the side there and they'll sort you out. It's Saturday the 3rd of December. For 20 quid, you'll get a scram, you get a night with Alan Stubbs, Q&A, and also professional photos. Selling out fast, so please do get down the hot walk and get your tickets.
When you're saying night with Alan Stubbs,
he's not going to cook you the tea. He's not going to stop cooking sausage and beans on that for you. Coming down, there's going to be a comp there, there's going to be a Q&A with Alan Stubbs. So get down, it'll be a great night, and that's like 3 or maybe 2 or 3 weeks into no football apart from the World Cup, so I'll be Stephen to get down here. It'll be a great night. Hope to see you down there. Our sponsors, as always, Veer Clothing, veerclothing.com. I've been a really bad podcaster tonight. I'm not rocking it. You can see these two looking a lot smarter in a Veer Clothing. Great range out. If you head to veerclothing.com, kit yourself out for Christmas. Get some gifts for Christmas. The best menswear in the city. At checkout, ATP20 for 20% off. And also our new sponsor and a good lad that we know over at Globe Gas Plumbing. If you go to globecentralheating.com for any plumbing or heating issues, if you're looking for a new bathroom or kitchen, quote us boys for 10% off as well. Boss lad. What wasn't boss pricey for me was Goodison Park on Saturday night. I think our socials were big enough under the lights at Goodison. We were all out for a couple of Steve rises beforehand. Didn't go to plan. We've done the instant match reaction. 48 hours on. How are you feeling? Because we've got lots of socials to get to.
Yeah, I still feel the same. I still feel disappointed in how we played, and for me it's a frustration now because it's happened more than once. It's becoming a bit of a thing where we're failing to take Palace away, but we're struggling to score really. We're too easy to play against, we're too slow. And it is starting to, I wouldn't say I'm worried in terms of like panic stations, but it's just becoming a bit like, come on, something needs to change, we need to try and mix it up again. And have we got the players to mix it up? Probably not. We had a discussion about Damari Gray and McNeil, might get into that again and whatever else, but
that pretty much sums it up, though, doesn't it?
but
that sums it up in terms of the lack of options to change it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we haven't got players to come in. So the manager's got his hands tied a little bit. He's definitely made us harder to score against. Our shape looks better than it has been. It's just a work in progress, and that's fine with me. I'm happy for it being a work in progress. It doesn't stop you getting frustrated though when you know that you want more, and that's the way I feel. I still think. I haven't watched instant match back, but I still stand by what I said. I do think it's a lack of urgency and a lack of individualism, if you like, and everyone's just trying the best just to keep it simple, and no one's really getting the ball by the scruff of the neck and having a good go of it. But I mean, that's how I feel. Do you feel any different yourselves?
Well, look, I read today. I read back Lampard's comments. I read Lampard's comments on Saturday evening because that's what you do after the game. I read them back today and I tried to study them a little bit. And Judgy, he basically said that what he showed him and showed everybody else is that what Pricey said is we are a work in progress. Leicester had quality all over the pitch, and it showed where we're short. That sums it up?
Yeah, I think I know I said in the instant match reaction, Harvey Barnes and James Maddison walked into our team. Yeah. Not to mention Tielemans, but that was an obvious one anyway. Maddison, the fact he's not in the England squad or whatever, it's becoming a bit of a running joke. But again, that's not for us to debate. But I don't think it's up for debate, the fact that they've got a lot more quality in key areas than us. I think what was disappointing is that we didn't at least get on the score sheet. I think we should have done. I think we had the chances to do so, and I know that was something that Lampard did say. The biggest thing that we can be critical of ourselves about, against Leicester, is not taking them chances. Yeah. Tielemans was obviously, that wasn't a chance, was it? It was just a great goal. The second one, is an avoidable one. But we've had 2 or 3 very, very good chances there by anyone's standards in that game, and we haven't took them.
Is that a game Everton should have took something from for you? And if you look at the bigger picture, Leicester are a really good team, but we're at home. And
going back to my point there, I think if Iwobi takes that chance within the first 5 minutes, whatever it is, wherever it is, where it's a good little move, he gets slid in, I think, by Calvert-Lewin, and he's inside right, puts it across the keeper, does Everton right. But it was almost a carbon copy of that goal against Newcastle that he scores at the end of last season, and he obviously puts it in the corner that time. He misses that one, and first goals for a team like us, with the exception of the Southampton game, is going to dictate our results this season. I think we're not going to be a team that's going to score. Again, I know you said it, Pricey, that the Palace game was more of an anomaly than it was a trend. We're not going to score 3 goals very often this team, particularly without Calvert-Lewin in the the starting lineup. So that first goal is really important. I think when we do get the first goal, this team has shown that we can keep clean sheets, we can get tight behind the ball, but when we concede that first goal, when we start opening up, when you're playing against team players like Harvey Barnes and like Maddison, they're going to create more chances, and the game's just going to get further and further away from us.
What is a thing for me is, you said there, should we be beating Leicester at home, and you automatically think, well, no, we've got no right to beat Leicester at home, but then last week we said, well, we've got no right to beat Fulham away. So then you think, well, where are we going to get enough points to stay up, first of all, and then to maybe get mid-table? You don't think you should beat Leicester at home, but surely that's one way you go. They're 3 points we feel like we can get.
You don't look back at that and go, like for me already, I'm looking back at Forest, Fulham. I don't want this to be a game, if heaven forbid things do go a bit wrong, I don't want to look back and go, yeah, Leicester as well. And I feel a bit like that.
I think there's 2 ways you look back at games. One is, as you said, Pricey, where it's a team that on paper, which Forest is, that you should be beating. I think the other one that you look back on, or the other games you look back on, the games where we've had chances to win the game, we haven't taken them. I'm not sure Saturday was one of them. I think Leicester were the better team.
Yeah, they were the better team.
I think they created better chances than us. I think they controlled the game. I think they maybe had another gear there, arguably. We had several gears, we just didn't quite get into at all. But you can't really turn around and go, that was 3 points lost. That we should have easily won it or whatever. I don't think it was quite that glaring.
I think a draw for me. If you would have got a draw, like I was one of those Blues who said after the Fulham points, I said in the bigger picture, I look back and hopefully that's a good point. I did expect Everton to get something from the game. What we're going to do is our YouTube instant match reaction this week. It may not have had the most views that we've ever had, but it's certainly had the most engagement. Yeah. And I think because one of the main reasons because of it, Pricey, you were saying today, is we had a bit of a debate about personnel, and I think he wanted to cover that again tonight.
Yeah, it was the wide. We spoke about the wide players, but mainly the Damari Gray McNeil type situation or debate that you two particularly had, and we had a few comments on social media about it. One from a guy called the Blues, or a girl called the Blues, who, fair point, to be fair, Gray's the second. It was me. I think it was me as well as Judge. You said, what does Gray do? What does he offer? And came and he said, look, he's second most creative player that we've got, and on paper he is the second most creative player he's got. But how do you feel about it? Do you feel like that's enough? Does he still create enough? Because he's second most creative, does that mean he's creating enough? I don't think it is. I think I'm frustrated with him a lot. But how do you feel after the
instant match? If anyone's not seen, please go back and look at it, as painful as it is. And what Price is talking about is, we had a bit of a, the certain fans, and I think this podcast is the perfect sort of split. I've seen both sides, and Damari Gray's name came up, and from my opinion, I used the word outlets, which I think some of our red mates really enjoyed me saying. And I say that because I don't think Damari Gray's hasn't got an end product. I'm not going to sit here and debate that. But I think if you take him out the Everton team, I think you lose something. And I think if you look back to Fulham last week, where he puts it on a plate for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the striker should score that. This is not a Dominic Calvert-Lewin thing. The striker should score that. There's an assist for Damari Gray. There's an Everton win on the road.
Can you name another one?
I was going to say, everyone keeps pointing out this Fulham cross. My God, wow, yeah, it was a decent cross. He just swung it in. He hasn't looked. He whipped it into an area. Look, the only time I've seen that.
He also set up the more pace into the derby. It was him who broke down the left, cut inside, give it to Moore.
All right, well, he's a threat for me. He's only created 3 big chances this season. You just named 2 of them. 3 big chances. Yeah. So big chance and the definition seems to be quite.
Do you think if we take Gray out the team, we lose anything at all?
Of course, on the basis of this season, we lose 1 assist. So yeah, that's what we lose.
I personally think you lose a threat.
All right,
That's
so going on about the chance he's created for Calvert-Lewin and the viewer, the listener, the Blues, as you said, Pricey, that's the name on YouTube, kept on pointing out about, look, they can't do anything about the striking or putting it away. Morpie, agreed, yeah, should have scored in the derby. Calvert-Lewin maybe should have gone on the end of the one against Fulham, or should have put it away. But that's what we're working with anyway. So what are we supposed to do? Magic a centre forward then who can put great chances away? He's got to work with the players around him. My argument on my point about McNeil, by the way, he's no worldie. He's clearly not pulled up trees since he's been here. He scored 2 goals though, and 2 important goals. And the thing with McNeil,
I'll shout for you for the season.
The thing with McNeil, no, it wasn't even a shout, because I'm just saying, I'm not sitting here saying McNeil is one of the better wingers in the Premier League. He's not even one of the better wingers, or certainly more desirable wingers we'd like to have in our squads. However, he looks to try and link up with people. He looks to try and play with people. He's better by a mile defensively than Damari Gray.
They're very different players.
They are very different players. I mean, my point, and this is not a McNeil against Gray argument, and it's not a... My point is that the Gray's played 14 games. Why has he played 14 games? And why is, McNeil played 7, I think Gordon's played 9. Why is he playing every game and the other 2 are having to come out?
I personally think because he is a threat with his pace and he wants that in the team. That was the manager.
Gordon's probably faster than him.
What's he done to make you think
what's
he's
he used? Where's he used his pace?
And again, I'm not the Damari Gray fan.
I'm not completely against him either, but
but when I watch Everton and when we do attack, more times than not, he is involved in the attack and he's the outlet, he's the threat. I do think when Everton look for that ball in the defence, or when Cody or Tarkowski or even the midfielders are looking for that ball, more times than not, it's Damari Gray.
Yeah, because he's playing every week, that's why. He's one of the 2 wingers that plays every week.
He's different
so
to McNeil. McNeil will pick the ball up, run on the team.
The way that we play, particularly while Calvert-Lewin hasn't been in the team, is the striker, Morphy will drop in, 2 wingers will play high. We've only got 2 options. And the other thing, our centre-backs are right-footed. So if you ever play with your right foot, you always look to play that way because it's harder to open up and play that way. So it's no coincidence that he's the one always on the end of it, because that diagonal ball for a right-footed player is always going to be from left to right. That's more comfortable to play that way.
For me, until you get new players in, he stays in for me. Don't bring them out.
And the other thing is, why are we just having the argument that it's always got to be wingers? We said at the start of the season, we're hoping that we've got a manager now who can change systems, change formations. Why is he not gone 2 up top every now and again? If he's looking to get players in behind, if he's looking to do something different, the 5-3-2 for me is not right for us because we haven't really got attack and fullbacks. Nathan Patterson is, but Mikolenko maybe isn't. Or, I'm going to contradict myself. Why not play Patterson and Vinagre and play them as the wide players and get 2 players playing on top? I just think we're blunt, aren't we? We're predictable, like Pricey said. We're slow. We look like we've only got one option or one outlet. I think it's time, whether that's Damari Gray coming out the team for someone else or whether it's changing system, it needs to change from an attacking point of view.
We talked about the YouTube comments. We'll quickly fly through. Some of you boys want to just react to them. RJH, and this is reacting directly to what you said on the instant match. I've had the Pogba vibe from Onana for a few weeks now. You can see the ability, but at the end of the day, I really don't know what he does, and he had no impact on the game at all.
Unfortunately, that's exactly what I said in the game. He was strolling around like Pogba. But I mean, to give him the benefit of the doubt somewhat, he's come off with an injury. Maybe he was carrying that injury the whole game. I've asked the listeners or viewers to watch the first goal back and look how casual Onana was when attempting to close down, supposedly, Tielemans. It looked Pogba-esque. He was like, strolling over to the ball. That's not good enough for me. On so many levels, the fans, demand work rate. And that was what's great about him when he first comes to the team. Throwing himself about. He's almost made that recovery challenge his trademark, where he's lunging, he's throwing everything in it, and he somehow gets the ball. That's been missing a little bit the last few weeks for me.
I think the injury must have been a reason for it, I think, because he did look particularly off the game on Saturday compared to the game. So maybe injury, but I think what you tell me if I'm wrong, or you weren't comparing him as a player to Pogba. It was more attitude-wise, weren't it?
It was just the like swagger and stuff and body language, And maybe, look, as I say, benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was carrying a knock, and maybe that body language is just his, laboured style because he couldn't really get into full gear and he was a little bit maybe embarrassed about that. I don't know, but there was a lot of some causes for alarm, should we say?
There's one here, Pricey. The Blues, big fat smack on the chin for any entitled Blues who think we should be solid at the back and playing good football, scoring goals. Fair?
We think we should be. Not at this stage, we shouldn't be. No, I think I've said it before. Lampard's worked on the defensive shape. I think we're quite good defensively. I think we'd all agree that we look a lot stronger defensively. Well, I hope we'd all agree because that's what I see.
Yeah.
So it takes time then to get the attack and play going. But my point is that it's been weeks and weeks now that the attacking players do. So we haven't changed anything, or it's still predictable. We're still trying to do the same things going forward. So yeah, he's got that base, and fair play to him. He's done really well and made up with it. But I just think I'm getting a little bit frustrated because you just like to see him change it somehow. Attack. It's not going to go overnight. We're not going to suddenly go and be this free scoring team with a perfect defence. It's not going to happen like that. We just try something new and just see if we can just get a bit of, as I say, individual. Like, just looks a bit regimented to me.
Even in game, some way of doing it. I agree with you that we're not. I don't think this squad's capable of, Lampard letting the shackles off, so to speak, and go on, let's go and play free flowing football. Not least because we haven't got the attacking players with flair. But in game, I'd like to see him go two up top every night. I mean, Calvert-Lewin was fit. We'll come on to that later. Was fit for 4 weeks. We didn't want to see two players up top. And there's been games where we have been chasing a goal and have needed that, and we haven't seen that. So I think that's a little bit frustrating.
Just trying to do one more each before we move on to socials, because socials is going to take us into a whole different world. When Everton lose, our socials just get a bit riled. There was a question asked that why we always have an Irish or American on the podcast. Do we turn into French Canadians when we get beaten?
You did invite one of our our American. It's because you through that French thing.
Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah, you invited Patrick on last week and a couple of weeks ago, and he was good value. I don't know where that's come from though. No, Irish.
I mean, if you want to in the comments to say which one of us turns Irish,
Neil's wife's Irish. Whether she somehow came out in Neil's voice one time, I don't know, but
possibly.
I tell you what though, Madri will do anything to you on it, so I haven't listened back to that.
Madri hits difference. Rafa had more points this time last season. Judging, you're talking about our chances missed. Leicester had missed just as many chances and scored 2. We have no forwards.
And I said before, I don't think we necessarily had more chances than them, but we can only look at it from
they took first, didn't they?
Pricey, he's replying to me. I said this, but I'll let you either agree or argue for me. I don't think we'll be in trouble this season, based off what we're horrendous. I said I don't think we'll be in trouble.
What does trouble mean to you?
I don't think that team takes it to the last week of the season in trouble. I don't think that team does much more.
Okay, so why?
I think we're better than last season, and I think there's more teams who are more culpable of getting dragged into it than us.
Okay, so going back off that, and this is just, I'm playing devil's advocate. Going back on the Benitez point, he had more. Apparently, that guy says we've got more points last season than we did this season. So what's making you think that this season we're different?
The moment, I think me and you done the first instant match ever, Watford at home. The difference with that manager is the moment it turned, it was going to go like that. It only went like that under Rafa because of who it was. We had those spells, Koeman year 1, Silva year 1, fans stuck with it till maybe year 2. Comparing Lampard and Rafa for me is not fair.
I think what's good for us is the World Cup this year. I think it gives another break. I think it gives a mini pre-season to get things going. We won't have that many players going into the World Cup. It gives Lampard a good chance to really hone in on the things that he wants and
get us close to that transfer window as well.
Get us close to the transfer window and come out in January. We've had seasons under Moyes where we've had a terrible run up until Christmas and then we come out in January fighting and we've shot up the table. I'm not saying that'll happen. It's got. I think the players are better than that. I think ultimately the players are better.
It's a much better squad, and there's more harmony. I think there's more balance to it. Like we said before, and we said a few times, this team is capable of digging in and keeping clean sheets. You couldn't use either of those terms about the previous outfit.
I think more character as well.
And also, we've come back from a few defeats already. The thing with Benitez's run, not really like speaking about him on the podcast, but some questions there. It was like 5-6 losses on the bounce, wasn't it? And it was just like there was no positivity coming out of that run, was there whatsoever? Whereas it's been a little bit more patchy here, but then the good performances have been very strong.
And the fans have got to be engaged, and I wasn't, and I know I speak for loads who wasn't this time last year because of who it was. I'm definitely guilty of that. Move on to socials. I've picked 4 boys from our Twitter. Our Twitter is @AcrossTheParkPC on Twitter. We're also on Instagram @AcrossTheParkPC. Judgy, first one for you, my friend. Callie on Twitter. A bit more of a statement, which you might want to put a bit of meat on the bone to. 3 wins all season isn't good enough. Surely it can't always be the players' fault again, considering the difference in personnel. Loaded question.
It is a loaded question, yeah. I mean, 3 wins, how many draws is it? I haven't got the league up here, and cheers, Mills, you haven't really prepared for that question.
There's 3 or 4 draws in it, isn't
yeah, there is, yeah. I mean, yeah, it is a loaded question. I'm not blaming either the players and the managers. Let's start with that. We haven't dug out any individuals here. We spoke about Tamari Gray, but it's not as such saying he's awful. It's just saying that other players have been taken out. He's been spared that, so far. I think it's we've not sat here and criticised 5, 6 players. We've maybe done it with 1 or 2. So I don't think it's a case of why is it the players or blame the players again. I think in general it's a work in progress. I think the whole squad, the whole setup, the way we're going is all moving in the right direction, and I think it's another speed bump we've come up against. I'm not ready at the moment to be overly criticising the manager. I'm asking questions of the manager the same way I'm asking questions of certain players, which are, can we change it up a little bit more? Like Pricey said, can we be a little bit more free-flowing? These aren't like overwhelming criticisms, the questions and the things that as fans we like to see a little bit more of.
So thanks for your question, Callie on Twitter. Pricey, come to you. Sedo on Twitter, he said probably feels a bit like me after the game. Feels rough all over again. He can't take another relegation fight. However, despite the fact that I think, I being Sedo, his in-game decisions in the last 2 games haven't helped, surely he has to be afforded time.
He's got to be afforded time. I think anyone who wants, or who's going to pull the trigger and wants to get rid of Lampard, I think is daft, to be honest. I think, yeah, I said before, you're frustrated sometimes because the same things have happened a few times now, which makes you just think, can he change it? Can he do this? Can he do that? But overall, I think we're going in the right direction. But that's not to say that you don't get disappointed. I was gutted after Saturday. I was so frustrated, even at half time, and then 90 minutes, I was coming out the game, and I haven't been like that for a while. In the instant match, we were sort of saying similar, or I was saying similar, how frustrated I was about it. So it's there, it's in me. I'm not panicking, I'm not wanting anyone out at the minute, but and the longer it goes on, the more you might get like that. But for the time being, I think we've got the pre-season to go, the World Cup to come, which is like another pre-season. Maybe bring 1 or 2 in January. Push on from there.
You feeling rough, Judge? Settle said that was a rough one on Saturday for him. He's scared, or he's can't face that again.
No, to be honest, I went into that game not just from the help of our friend from Leicester giving us the heads up we were going to get beat 2-0. I went into that game expecting a tough game. I think everyone got carried away by the poor start that Leicester had, but I think we were reminded on Saturday is the quality they've got. Going back to the actual point of the question, no, I don't hear or see a stadium that's kind of putting the finger at the manager. I think a lot of the fans, like Price said, were a little bit frustrated that maybe certain players hadn't been played in certain positions, but it wasn't like, oh, here we go, and this is the manager's fault or whatever. I just think it was one of them games for me that we come up short in a number of areas, and yeah, I think patience is definitely needed, and in fairness, I think a lot of the fans are giving them that anyway.
I don't feel it. I mean, I was on our socials, and you'll always find different opinions on socials.
You'll always find a negative opinion on Twitter, by the way.
You're ever looking by running our Twitter page.
No, if you're ever looking for a negative opinion on Twitter, just give Millsy a call and he'll send you the darkest tweets you can possibly imagine.
That's a separate podcast.
Absolute pessimist.
A separate podcast for the separate
pessimist of the year.
But no, the point I'm trying to make is like they're out there now. People are looking, and I think there's been a couple of only a couple of times you've left Goodison this season you thought that wasn't good. I think the Fulham game, I thought, despite I thought it was a good point at the time, I may be wrong, and you look back and go, chance to win that game. And so I think the mood a little bit is when you get 2 or 3 of those in quick succession, can have an effect. But like you said there, Pricey and Seto says he needs to be afforded time.
Yeah, no, you could definitely feel it in the stadium. I said that. But frustration's the word. It's not anger. It hasn't turned into that balance where it's like fume. It's just frustrating. Like, oh, come on. It's that type of feeling, I think.
Yeah. We've got loads more questions, but they're all very, very similar. Talking about the manager, asking for your opinion on the manager. Do we stick? Do we twist? We'll move on from that and hopefully never revisit that. But judging, a good question. It's a bit of a loaded question. There's 3 on the bounce. How disappointing, this is Phil1878, sorry, on Twitter. Phil, thanks for your question. How disappointing has Anthony Gordon been? Would you sell should the rumours that Spurs are looking at him in January be true? However, should we be more patient with him? Can you have one rule for Lampard and one rule for Gordon?
Yeah, that is a loaded question. I'm going to try and address the question in the opposite order. So I'm going to start with the question about patience. I don't think patience is a word that comes to mind when I think about our assessment of Gordon's performances of late and in general. I think he come onto the scene showing that he's got a lot of pace, he's got a lot of ability. I don't think he's ever really shown us as fans anything that suggests that we should be elevating his status to the level that other clubs are. Like, before those bids come in, you walked around the stadium and asked fans what Gordon's worth or whatever. Only anyone in their wildest dreams would be saying 50-60 million. Yeah. So, therefore, I don't think we as fans need to be having any more or less patience with Gordon than we do any of our other players. All right, yeah, he's a young player, but how many players have we seen walk through those or walk onto the pitch at Goodison? They've got potential bags of ability, young players, and the differences we've seen in terms of their performance and how they've matured and how they've developed has been so different from player to player. But thinking about the prime examples, your Barkleys, your Rooneys, your Jeffers, Rooney sits over here on his own pedestal, and players of that level, which is the type of money that we're talking about for that, selling Gordon on. Rooney went for 30 million or something at the time. 60 million in this market isn't maybe 30 million what it was then, but it's certainly up there. He sits alongside a Barkley and a Jeffers more than he does a Rooney, and therefore I don't think the fans are giving him a hard time. I think they're expecting from him what we were expecting from Jeffers, what we were expecting from Barkley, and he's not produced even as much as they did. Has
Phil got a point there? Is there a difference in patience with the manager and patience with the young player?
Well, look, because the difference if you sell Gordon, you're going to get 50 million or whatever it may be to reinvest into the squad, aren't you? And build and rebuild the team, and we need players, and you could probably get 2 half-decent players for that maybe. That we need. So it's different to having patience with Lampard and Gordon for that reason, is that you can put the money back in, whereas if you get rid of Lampard, you got rid of him. You're having to pay another manager to come in, so you're losing even more money. But I think going back to that point about the players you spoke about, and there's a list, there's more than that.
Of course there is. I'm just thinking about the prime ones that are fairly like.
But them type of players, they wish they never left.
Yeah.
So Gordon's got to think about it. Do we want to get rid of Gordon? But does Gordon actually want to go? You're saying about his patience in him and stuff like that, and he's not a Rooney. He hasn't got that ability that a Rooney's got. So you say you have patience with him. I'd like to know if there is much more to come for. Yeah.
I mean.
Can we afford to be patient with him? Are we at that level now where we go, right? We can afford to be patient with this player, or are we at the level where we go, no? Let's while the stock's high, let's get the money in and let's reinvest in the squad. And I think. Not that I'm saying I want to get rid of him at all. I'm not saying push him out the door. But if a strong bid comes in at 50-60 million for Gordon, I think you've seriously got to go. Hang on a minute. We need to take this and reinvest in the team.
I think patience in any situation in life is merited when you can see things coming on, and it's the same with the manager. Although that was a great analogy you used before, Bryce, in terms of what we can get from getting rid of Lampard versus what we can do with Gordon. But when you can see things moving in the right direction. Has Gordon gone forward since he broke into the team? Has he gone backwards? I mean, that's where, if there is a lack of patience, that's where it'll come from. Is people going, what are we actually waiting for here? Are we getting more from him? There hasn't been any more goals, really. Although someone said the other week how he's on track to double the score tally from last season. Yeah, maybe, but I don't think I've seen much more from Gordon this season than maybe I did last season.
What do you think? You were a Gordon fan?
I'm a Gordon fan.
So what's your opinion? Has it been in it? Having this cloud on him, not cloud, but having this Chelsea bit that come in that no one was expecting. It wasn't like he come in and we said, oh yeah, we were expecting Chelsea coming from there. It was a complete shock that Chelsea come in for Gordon. But I know you were saying, well, we should keep Gordon and we should maybe build a team, all that type of thing. But do you think it's done the opposite? And do you think it's gone backwards because of that bit?
Yeah, I do. And it'd be very silly of me to come on this show and say I've got the same views as I did in June, July, August, because the performances since then haven't been there. Well, my opinion in mid-August, late August, was based off he was one of the handful of players who came out of a squad of 25 with any sort of credit last season, and I did think if you get that Evertonian on the pitch, who we all want, and as probably as younger Evertonians we wanted even more, we want our children to grasp on to an Anthony Gordon, and for Anthony Gordon to not end his career, but look back at his career and he's holding an FA Cup and an Everton chair. That's what you want as a fan, and I still want that. But I do think the fanfare of, here's the number 10 shirt, smile to the photographer, there's going to be a social media blast, and then Frank Lampard's saying he's worth more than 50, he's worth more than 60. Something's happened to him. Something has happened.
Listen, he wouldn't be human if that didn't happen. But the levels, there's levels in this game, as the saying goes, and if he wants to be at that top level, that type of fanfare, so to speak, he should be rising to that. He should be taking that and going, yeah, that's me. I don't think he's quite done that. It was almost like a little bit of anger, or that he had, or a bit of a chip. Not a chip. He had something in him when he scored that goal against Brentford. Scored the goal against Leeds. It was almost like, yeah, this is me. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone's watching.
And then once that went away, he's went away with it. And the fact that he can't displace a Damari Gray in a team or a Dwight McNeil says everything about where he is at the moment. So I don't think patience is the word that we should be looking for when we're talking about Andy Gordon and his position in this squad.
Sum that question up. If good money comes in, yourself.
Yes.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yes.
Fair enough. There was more social media, but we can't get through them all. Thank you so much for heading over to our Twitter, which is @AcrossTheParkPC, and giving us your questions. Please do it again for next week. We'll try and pick out some different ones. We've joked there when Everton don't do well. It's very easy to find some questions. I thought it was fair to put the lads to the sword and find out where they stood on the manager, and particularly Andy Gordon. We'll move over to the Cup game. This is probably Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon you're watching this. So tonight, the manager has already said that there'll be rotation. He's hoping that some kids will feature. Are Everton up for the Cup, Pricey?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a rotation. I'd like to see a few youngsters in there, especially in the squad. I'd like to get them to get in around, because the squad's not massive. It's not built with quality at the minute. We were saying we need new players in there. Why not give a youngster a chance and see if he can grab it and see if he can push himself for starting 11 in the Premier League maybe. So I'd have rotation. I'd have youngsters in there. I don't. Bournemouth I've read today. Bournemouth are definitely not going to be playing their strongest team. They're going to be having half an eye in the Premier League more than we are. Yeah, so they won't want to lose their Premier League games, and they'd be willing to sacrifice the cup. So I think going rotating, getting a few youngsters in, would win us the game still, and that's what I'd like to see us do.
Judgy, you look at the cold light of day. There's 2 games in a week, and then we're done for 6 weeks. I don't want to ask you what's more important than the other. I think that's unfair. But is this cup game important?
Yeah, it is. I'm going to answer the question here, even though you didn't ask if the league game is more important than the cup game.
Does that make this still important?
Oh yeah, listen. Every year we come into the season, and I said it myself. So I don't want to contradict myself from the start of the season, but I said what I'd like from this season is a steady league position, not be in trouble, and to win a cup.
Yeah, look, for me, the bottom line is basically that I'm not saying that you don't, because you obviously do, but I am up for the cup. And I just think what that can do, if the manager can get a cup run going and get this crowd behind the team in the cup, could that be a catalyst for everything else?
Yeah, of course, you can be a catalyst if you're going to have a few wins, but you've still got to be realistic about the position we're in now, haven't you? And say, which team can beat Bournemouth, and looking at the bigger picture, can it bring any players in that can potentially affect the first team in the Premier League? That's where I'll be going with it, and then, as I say, I think we can get the win, and if it is a catalyst, fair enough, but I wouldn't go whole out on trying to beat Bournemouth tomorrow to win.
What's your opinion? What's more important? Would you rather have a win tomorrow night against Bournemouth or a win on Saturday?
I'd rather win Saturday because I'd rather go into that break.
I would, yeah.
I mean, as you said, bottom three potentially is it if we
get beat by Bournemouth, very much so, yeah.
So yeah, it's all about getting the win and going into that World Cup on the back of a win, which I think is important, and then go from there.
Should we go old school predictions?
Yeah, I'm going to say 3-2. I think there'll be goals, and there'll be changes from both teams, and I think I can see goals.
3-0 for me, Placey. Wipe the floor with them. Tamari Gray hat-trick.
I'll go soggy 1-0 to Everton. It's going to be one of them games where, you're watching on a Tuesday night and you're like, for fuck's sake, we'll finish, but you get a win.
Well, before we go into the outros, Millsy, just want to mention, obviously, that it's great to be back face to face. This is what we're all about. This is where we want to be. I think rather than staring at the screen and whatever, actually sitting having a beer. I'd like to have more than one beer because we're really proper parts there. But I think the consistency is the second thing now. We want to be getting our episodes out on a Tuesday regularly, so you wake up on a Tuesday or in your lunchtime in work, you can expect our podcast. And then, like you did, Millsy, last week, Pricey, you'll be catching up with the opposing fans at the end of the week, and we want to do that every Friday.
So, yeah, Pricey with Cherry's Red Army on Thursday, aren't you, the Bournemouth YouTube channel?
Yeah, so similar to what you've done with the Leicester fan, which was...
Leicester Till I Die TV. It was adamant they were beating us, told us why,
yeah.
And it turns out well for him.
And he was really good, actually, so that's what we're hoping to do, is get an away fan on every week and have a preview with them on a Friday, release it Friday. This week I'm recording Thursday with the Bournemouth fan. So we'll go over, obviously, the Carabao Cup game. We'll probably review that for a bit, do a preview on the upcoming game. And he can tell us a bit about Bournemouth that we don't know. Give us a bit of insight into them, let them know what they think of us, how shit they think we actually are. And then we can go from there. And, as I say, if you can get an insight, I think it works well. If you can get a fan on from the other side, why not?
You're almost double booked, aren't you? Because you're jumping straight on there.
Booked, yeah.
So they've got a live one at 8 o'clock on their channel, which we'll put on our Twitter at Across the Park BC. But you're jumping straight on for a live one.
Yeah. So we're going to record ours Thursday, 7 o'clock to go Friday. So ours are going to be pre-recorded, and theirs is live 8 o'clock on the Thursday. So record ours, then do theirs live.
Listen to ours on Friday though. Don't tell me
that. Download ours.
So yeah, be good. So if you want to get on live, I'm sure you've got the details there live on Thursday. Yeah. 8 o'clock. Get on. Listen to me giving a bit of banter with the Bournemouth fans. Hopefully.
Just on the consistency point of view and the reminders, what we need from you in return is subscribe. We look to the weekends, like 60-70% of the people who are watching our podcast or listening to them haven't subscribed. It's dead easy. Just press that button at the bottom. It makes a big difference to our channel. 100%. Gets us a little bit more recognition from YouTube and can help us try and develop it further. So please subscribe if you haven't already. Tell your mates to do so as well.
We're doing this. We don't make any money, and the kit that we're using is our own kit and stuff. And we'd love to be able to bring you better quality, like 4K podcast and do more. We can only do that if YouTube allows us to, and we need subs for that. So we need likes. So please hit the like sub. Throw the link in any WhatsApp Everton group that you've got. The audio guys who are still listening, thank you so much for being there from the start with us, still listening. Head over to YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe. That would really buy us a cup of coffee. That would help. Thank you as always to the Hot Walk. Well, not saying as always, the second week running, but we're back in the Hot Walk. Some massive nights still to come over the next 18 months here, hopefully before the old lady behind us. We switched to Bramley Moor. None bigger, Judgy coming up, the big Alan Stubbs night, Saturday, December 3rd. We're down here for 20 quid, a scan, a photo, and a Q&A with Alan Stubbs. What it's all about, isn't it?
What more can you ask as well? I think it's, when the World Cup's going on and you're probably just craving a little bit of Everton chat. Nothing better than Stubbsy, talking about some of the good times he had, under David Moyes and whatever. And great footy guy, top Evertonian, so yeah, get down and enjoy some good food and a few beers and
100%. 3 different tiers, a tenner, a 15 quid and 20 quid, 3 tickets, all behind the bar at the Hot Rock. Come down, even when the bar area is closed in midweek, Chippy next door's open, they'll sell you the tickets. But for myself, Ian Mills, for Andrew Price and for Gary Judge, thank you so much for watching and listening. Up the toffees.